Keep, bench, sell. Pack of cards here. Starting at the top. How are we going to start with this one? I'm saying that because, unfortunately, and I do mean unfortunately, I would consider selling him this summer. So he's going to be the first one in this list. Reason being, he just hasn't kicked on in the last 2 years, where Saka has. And once upon a time, their ceilings, when discussed, were at a pretty similar level, or so we once thought. I know Arteta's tactics have played a part, and I actually think a move for him as a player would probably, do good, not just for us with the money we can get, but for him going into a team that works more on the transition, that utilizes his best attributes most, because he works hard. That goes without saying, and that's why I say unfortunately it hasn't worked out, because I feel like we need a left winger, and out of him and Trossard, I would say he's definitely got more value, and he's the one I'd be looking to sell if we need to sell to make some money, which is apparently the case. Next up, Miles Lewis-Skelly. Easy. Straight after a difficult one, an easy one. You keep Miles, our left back. Our left back until further notice. I know he's a midfielder by trade, or in the youth teams. I know he's spoken about wanting to play in midfield, but he's also happy playing left back. He's broke onto the international scene left back. One of the players of the season for me. Probably just misses out because of the amount of games he started and played in overall. Because since he's come in, he's up there with the very best, whether that be Timber, Partey, or Raya. Which are the names that I've got up there for player of the season. Next up, Tomiyasu. This is where I'm going to say this is my opinions, right? So this is what I would try and do, I would seek to do. And I know with him, this would be very difficult considering he's played, 20 minutes in the last year and a half. And he's expected to be out until the next calendar year, January 2026. I would seek to sell him, but how likely that is, I'm not too sure, but I'm putting him in here anyway, just because it makes sense. Let me get this nice and neat. There we go. Next up, Saliba, another easy one. Everything I said about Miles, Lewis-Skelly and more. Top defender. We often do this thing where we compare him and Gabriel. Growing up, I never compared Adams and Keown, or Adams and Campbell, or Toure and Campbell, and so on. I know this new generation's all about debates and all of that, and here I am on YouTube talking about who I'd keep, bench or sell. But when it comes to centre-backs, regardless of how good Gabriel's been this season, he is a very important part of why we are the best defensive side in the league year on year. So Saliba goes without saying, you keep him. Even if he doesn't sign a contract, you keep him. I don't care what about this Trent situation where there's 2 years left on his deal. I'd rather be keeping Saliba for the next 2 years if it's going to play out like that. So for me, Saliba, you keep him. Next up, Mikel Merino came in a year ago. I liked him. I liked the signing. I didn't like that it was the main signing. It's not really a cherry on top type of signing, and that's what they tried to deliver it as. But unfortunate with the shoulder break early on, or fracture, whatever it was, he found a place up front. You could say a utility man. You could say in the same fashion Havertz did a year before, coming in as a number 8 and ending the season as a striker, a number 9, albeit a false one. But I think for Merino, next season's going to be important. He needs to produce in midfield, but I'd also look to utilise him in attack if we're struggling to score goals with Victor Gyökeres, because that's who we should be getting. Jakub Kiwior. First and foremost, he steps up, and this is year on year now. This season at centre-back, when Gabriel was out, I don't look at the Gabriel injury and think it cost us against the PSG across both legs, which is ultimately all we had left to play for. Obviously Real Madrid too, where Kiwior again stepped up. He done it last season at left back too. From January onwards, he started playing left back, unnatural position for him, and he stepped up, and until he faced Leroy Sané in the Champions League, he was pretty solid in that position. I'd be keeping Kiwior on the bench if he's happy to go again. But I'd be utilising him more. I mean, I think Arteta needs to, shake it up a little. Carabao Cup, FA Cup, even Champions League games, even some league games. I think Kiwior's shown enough to warrant starts here and there. And when you look at the amount of injuries we've had, hamstring, muscle related, I think rotation is on the menu for next season, or we hope so. And talking of rotation, a player that ends the season on the injury table, surgery to his ankle, but probably my player of the season. So consistent, so good, does everything you need a fullback to do, whether you want him to attack and overlap, whether you want him to underlap and get into the midfield, or whether you want him to just defend and secure the back line. Timber, he's shown he's more than capable doing anything required of a fullback, and my player of the season for sure. On the rotation front, with Ben White out for the season because of a lack of rotation before, he is now out injured. So what we need to do is make sure both Jurrien and Ben come back fully fit, ready to compete with each other for a starting position, as well as take some game time off Saliba as well, where rotation is key, because that's another man that's gone down at the end of the season. So keep. And I'm making the keep more of a, well, it is because the bench is here, so the keep is who I'd be going with first team. Riccardo, Calafiori, a tough one to really talk about much. His 2 goals, beautiful, well taken finishes, 2 of our best finishes of the season, if we're talking about the way the goals have been executed. But that side of it is more the cherry on the top. I want a defender to be able to defend, and I want to see him more as the left centre back. Now, I've just spoken highly of Kiwior and what he's done when he stepped up, but his position is up for doubt in terms of will he stay or will he go. Whereas Calafiori, we know he's going to be here. He just needs to get fit in the summer. He just needs to be ready and fight with Lewis-Skelly for that left back spot, or take some time off Gabriel, because I don't think there's no taking that left centre back spot off Gabriel. So keep him on the bench. There's a lot of cards here, Sterling better not be part of this, because the one I've got now, he's at the end of his contract. The opposite of Sterling this season. Someone that, like Sterling, we didn't expect much from because of the injuries the season before, but he stepped up and he's been our most consistent midfielder of the season. High level performances. We missed him against PSG in the first leg. Wasn't the reason we went out, the reason we lost, but he's been an important player this season, and I think he warrants a new contract. Whether I keep him in the starting 11 or bench him, I mean, we're bringing in Zubimendi, or so it's said, so I'd be... Can I put it on the line? Assuming Zubimendi comes in, I expect them to share game time, but I also expect, with his age and the injury concerns that are still relevant, I'd be looking to utilise him more for maybe the biggest games, and help bed Martin in. Kai Havertz, again, I'm going to remind people this is my opinions, not what I think realistically will happen or all of that. But in my opinion, if I was in a position to, if I was the manager, if I was the sporting director, if I was the owner, considering the wages, considering the lack of real ownership of a position, he's taken on the 9 position. I know injury curtailed his season, but he is not a 9, he is not an 8, he is not a 10. Honestly, I wouldn't mind him as an option off the bench, even though I look at Merino and I think to myself, if I need a goal, Gyökeres ain't firing, 70 minutes in, I'm probably bringing Merino on. More of a box presence, more of a clinical finisher in that box. So what happens to him on 275k? In my opinion, sell. In my opinion, sell. Oh my God, hater, he hates him, the agenda is strong. Leave it in the comments. Benjamin White, unfortunate season, injured pretty much throughout. Came back a couple of times, didn't look his usual self, as expected. But when you consider the game time for the previous 2 seasons, the amount he had to put in, his workload on that right-hand side, and generally him playing and fighting through injury. There's no doubt for me that we keep him. I don't have no doubts about him, but I do think he needs to fight for his spot back from Jurrien Timber. And this is coming from someone who puts Ben White as a top 2 right back for the couple seasons before this one where he's been out. So Ben White, bench, needs to fight for his spot, but I trust him. He is part of it. Raheem Sterling, less said the better, I've talked enough. Martin Odegaard. This one, very poor season. And I don't use very lightly because of expectation. Martin Odegaard, not only quality-wise, but leadership-wise, helping take us from what we was to what we have now become for the past 3 years as a team that expects to be challenging for major trophies. He has played his part, you know, but at this level, after the setbacks of the last 2 years, it was a big season for him. Injury early on, hasn't recovered since. Similar to Ben White, has he been playing through injury? Potentially, but I've just seen him ghost far too many times this season, and that's why I'm teetering between these two. Now, there's no links to a number 10 so far. I'd like to bring Ryan Cherki in, but even if a Cherki comes in, it'd be to try and take his spot rather than slot straight in, because as much as Odegaard's had a poor season, he deserves to go again. So Odegaard goes in to keep. Saka, easy. I don't even want to say star boy anymore. He's a man. Injured, crucial stage midway through the season, on 10 assists so early on. Salah just missed out on the assist records with 18. With Saka on 10 so early on, he could have potentially been up there. We could have potentially been closer to it, even though I think with Saka the concern still remained in terms of our transition and attack. But Saka, keep, easy one, light work. On to the next one, Jesus, not so light work. First things first, unfortunate. ACL, 6 months into his Arsenal career. ACL, 6 months into coming back really in full flow, even though he wasn't utilised as much as he was in that first 6 months he was here. And another ACL. If I could, I'd be selling him. But like Tomiyasu, I just think that it's highly unlikely considering he's also out till January 2026. Kai Havertz, I mean, I've heard all right things. You know what, bench? I don't really need us to get a new keeper this summer. You know, you took Setford off Ajax. Kai Havertz, he's gone on loan. Apparently, he's okay. We only need these keepers for League Cup. Raya should start FA Cup, Premier League and Champions League. Let's not waste money, 30 mil on another goalkeeper. So, yeah, bench. Reece Nelson, I mean, out on loan, injured. Unfortunate. I think he's a good player. I think he'll get a move. I don't think we'll be able to sell him, loan him, but I'd be seeking to sell him, that's for sure. Nuno. Apparently he's having a great season out there, but it's not the first time in the last 3 years I've heard he's having a great loan. But it's the first time that it looks like that clause will be triggered, an option, and I think the option is just 5 mil. So from his productivity, whether they just want to sell him on after paying the 5 mil, that's good business for them. And for us, yeah, a failed attempt at a fullback. Fabio Vieira, another one out on loan. Apparently second half of the season, he's done better, ended the season quite strong. I say apparently because I don't watch Portuguese football. I read up on it a few times just to be able to have some knowledge here. But it hasn't worked out. Needed him this season, and I think this season he would have had the opportunities needed to really know whether he's going to get that physical capacity needed in this league, but it hasn't worked out. Seek to sell him for sure. You know, it looks like we're trusting a new process if we sell all that. It's all mad. Declan Rice, easy. Let's bulk up the keep side. Top midfielder, started the season a bit slow, ended the season hobbling left, right and centre, puts in at 100 every 90. Played a hell of a lot of football across the last 2 years. Warrior, still think he's better as a 6 in a double pivot, but he's done his thing in the 8. Albert Lokonga, sell. Gabriel, another easy one. You know, one of the candidates for player of the season, even being out since March. Not only the top defender of the season, but also a threat, you know, a very real threat. And one of the few threats we had in attack in terms of what team need to be concerned about. Set pieces, and Gabriel on the end of those set pieces. So without a shadow of a doubt, Gabriel keep, regardless of any Saudi interest or not. Neto, video's gone on long enough now, and we're running out of space here. And so David Raya, top season, you know, without the Ramsdale shadow now, I think he has improved. Candidate for player of the season, saved us many points early on, midway through and towards the end. Didn't like how Arteta focused on the Donnarumma side of things in the PSG game, considering he also saved a penalty. You know, he'd done his thing across those two legs. You look at the goals and you can't really attribute anything to David Raya. So all in all, top season from him, one of the best keepers in the league. You keep him in goal. Let's not start knocking his confidence now the same way with Ramsdale, and then bring Garcia in and Ramsdale Raya. Zinchenko came in, was refreshing when he came in, because a left back that inverts was something new to Arsenal Football Club, considering how stale it got with Wenger, and then Emery obviously being more of an OG manager than a modern system-based manager. But since then, in helping us get into a more reputable position, it's also exposed him as a player that, when we look at Man City and the utilisation of Zinchenko at Man City, it's understandable for the level they was at during those times, winning leagues left, right and centre, that he was more of a bit part player, utility man at best. Sell Zinchenko. Nwaneri, easy. I won't put him into the starting 11 just yet, but he goes on the bench. But he goes on the bench with a look at getting a lot more minutes next season. Probably number 1 or number 2 off the bench for me next season in terms of our attacking options. And the last one, Leandro Trossard. I mean, we started with the left wing, we're ending with the left wing. And if you remember what I said about Martinelli, I'd be keeping one of them, and this is the one I'd be keeping because he's shown he's a great 12th man, and I don't use the word great lightly here either. Going into the season, I said he's the best 12th man in the league off the bench. He's a threat, he gets goals, he picks up key spaces. But this season we've ended up relying on him a lot more than we should have. Some players are just better off the bench, impact, rotation, than they are relied upon. Saying all of that, he's still been, I think, more productive than Martinelli, if not there or thereabouts, with probably less game time. Again, I say probably, he has played quite a bit this season considering injuries, but with a year left, I'd be keeping Trossard, the experience, the 12th man, 13th if we consider Nwaneri as well, and I'd make my money off Martinelli. So that is my last pick or option or selection. Trossard on the bench. How we only got 8 people here? Oh no, I know how. New striker, new left winger, and Zubimendi. Makes sense. Makes sense. That's it, people. Comments, let me know. Too harsh as usual, or too real? Let me know. Hit the like button. Make sure you subscribe.